Hi again. This is part 18 of Bad Dad by David Walliams. Chapter 52. Crusher. Queenie landed on the rim of the crusher. She wobbled there, Frank and his father hanging between life and death. "Swing forward again," cried Dad. They both swung forward and the car slid off the rim of the crusher and hit the ground. Dad then pressed hard on the accelerator, but no sooner had Queenie sped forward than the crane's claw smashed through what was left of the roof. "Hold on," said Dad to his son. The man did a handbrake turn, putting the car into a wild spin. The claw tore the roof clean off Queenie. It was like peeling open a tin of sardines. "I always wanted Queenie to have a sunroof," said Dad as the car smashed through a wire fence and sped off out of the scrapyard. Still the crane thundered after him, its caterpillar tracks whirring as it gave chase. Ahead was a sign that read, "Low Bridge." The pair smiled at each other as they raced past it. Queenie zoomed under the bridge. Frank climbed out of his seat and looked behind out of the brand new sunroof. The crane was way too tall. It smashed straight into the bridge, and bricks exploded everywhere. Kaboom! Like a staggering Tyrannosaurus Rex, the crane ground to a halt. In the distance, Frank could see fingers leap out of the cab, kicking the ailing crane with his foot and then wince at the pain. "First stop, Mr. Biggs!" shouted the boy over the roar of the Mini's engine. Chapter 53. Deep Dark Dread. The pair of Bankan robbers hid Queenie in a hedgerow before making the final part of the journey to Mr. Biggs' country house on foot. It was late now, and all they could hear were their own footsteps echoing on the wet road. Frank felt frightened, but he didn't want to admit it. "Let me hold your hand, Dad. I just don't want you to trip over," he lied. "Thanks, mate," replied the man, looking scared too. Pilfer House was surrounded by a huge stone wall. "Please can I borrow your leg?" asked the boy. "I'll need it back." "Yeah, of course, Dad." As soon as the man had taken off his wooden leg, Frank turned it upside down and used the foot as a hook on the stone wall. Next, he hoisted himself up. Once he was standing on top of the wall, Frank lowered the leg to pull his father up. Both then leapt into the grand garden below. From that safe distance, Frank studied the house. "If I remember right, Big study must be that room with the huge window there. Follow me," said the boy with confidence. Just one thing, mate." "Yes, Dad?" "Please can I have my leg back?" "Oh, oops," said the boy. As soon as Dad had reattached it, they were on their way. It came as no surprise to discover that all the windows and doors to Pilfer House were locked. Mr. Big had become rich by stealing from others, but no one would be allowed to steal from him. "Locked, locked, locked," cursed Dad. Maybe I could borrow your leg again." "What for this time?" "To break a window," suggested the boy. "That'll wake everyone up, mate." Frank thought for a moment. "Dad, Big has got those two huge cats, remember?" "Yeah, horrible creatures called Ronnie and Reggie, so..." "Well, there must be a cat flap. Maybe I'm small enough to squeeze through it." "It's worth a try." Round the back of the house, Frank found the small hatch at the bottom of the kitchen door. "I'm not sure about this, mate," said Dad. "There's locks on the inside of all the windows. I won't be able to get in. You'll be on your own in Big's house. It's dangerous." "I'm not scared," lied the boy. "From out here, you can see if any lights come on in the house and warn me." "All right, but how are you going to get into the safe?" "I memorised the tune the butler made when he pressed the code in. Beep boop, bleep boop." "Oh, all right, you thought of everything. All right, in you go. But, mate..." "Yes, Dad?" "Be careful." The boy nodded and ducked down onto his hands and knees. It was a tight squeeze, but he just made it through the cat flap. Flap. Once inside the house, a deep, dark dread descended upon the boy. Here he was alone in the dark, inside the home of a master criminal, about to steal £500,000 from him. It couldn't be more dangerous. As he crawled across the kitchen floor, Frank could hear snoring. The boy glanced over to the basket in the corner. Ronnie and Reggie were curled up together, sleeping. Frank tiptoed past them out into the corridor. This was longer than a football pitch, with doors dotted along either side. Which one was the study door? Suddenly Frank felt sick to his stomach as he realised he didn't have a clue. Now he had no idea if he had come too far or not far enough. Frank tried a few handles and found they were all locked. Eventually he discovered one that wasn't. The boy opened the door as slowly and as quietly as he could. Inside the room, darkness reigned, save for a dot of red light. The boy felt something stinging his eyes and burning the back of his throat. The red light glowed. It was the end of a cigar. A table lamp flicked on, blazing straight into the boy's eyes. As he blinked at the brightness, a voice said, "Well, if it isn't the little thief, I've been expecting you." It was Mr. Big. Chapter 54. Liar. "I'm impressed, young Frank," began the master criminal, "breaking into my house in the dead of night. You are a boy after my own heart. You need to come here and live with me and your mother. I could be the father you never had. I could train you up, teach you everything I know. You could become a master criminal like me. One day, all this could be yours." "I don't want it," snapped the boy. "I don't want any of it." "Of course you do," chuckled Big. "This is everyone's dream. Just think, your own swimming pool, servants. You can even race my fleet of supercars round the grounds." "Join me," said the man as he reached out his hand. "No, never." "No one says no to Mr. Big." "Everything you have is built on hurting others. You know what? You aren't half the man my dad is." "Is that so?" Mr. Big leaned forward. "Which reminds me, where is that pathetic excuse for a human being?" The boy could just make out his father standing outside the window, right behind Mr. Big. Frank didn't dare let his eyes drift over or he'd give the game away. "He's in prison, of course. He doesn't know anything about me being here tonight." Mr. Big chuckled to himself. "A liar as well as a thief. I'm not a liar." The man got up out of his seat. Not that it made much difference to his height. He shone a lamp into the boy's face. "Thumbs takes his nephews to visit his brothers in the nick. Says he sees something fishy as you're leaving. Fingers is waiting outside in the motor and follows you to the scrapyard. There you get to get your crummy little car back. Why? What's your plan, my son?" "I'm not your son." "Tell me," purred Big. "No." Mr. Big smiled to himself. The evil little man was clearly getting a kick out of upsetting the boy like this. "Come on, Daddy needs to know what his little thief is up to now. You are not and will never be my daddy, and I'm not a thief," exclaimed the boy, his eyes stinging with tears. "If you must know, I'm going to steal the money and put it back in the bank." Mr. Big hooted with laughter. "Ha! Ha! 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 We got there finally." "Damn," said Frank. He'd given his master plan away. "In all my years, I've never heard anything so stupid. I'm not sure you're all there," said the man, prodding the boy's head with his short, stubby fingers. "You're not working alone, though, are you, boy? For the last time, where is that one-legged father of yours?" Mr. Big took a long drag from his cigar and blew the thick black smoke straight into the boy's face. Frank coughed and spluttered. Out of the corner of his eye, he could see his father was taking off his wooden leg. I told you I don't know," replied Frank. Mr. Big shook his head slowly. He took the cigar out of his mouth and held the red-hot glowing end close to the boy's nose. "I've been nice. Now it's time to get nasty." Slowly, he moved the cigar closer and closer. Frank couldn't help it. His eyes flickered over to Dad. Mr. Big turned round to see the man hopping around outside the window. Above his head, he was brandishing his wooden leg. "What the?" exclaimed Mr. Big. Chapter 55. Wrinkly Bottom. Before Mr. Big could utter another word, Dad's false leg crashed down through the window. Spsh! And the wooden foot bashed Mr. Big hard on the head. Bonk! The crime boss collapsed to the floor, out cold. Someone would have heard that, said Dad, bashing the bits of broken glass out of the window with his fake foot so he could climb through it. Thanks for saving my skin, Dad. My pleasure. I've been wanting to knock out that nasty piece of work for years. Dad looked down at the little man sprawled out on his silk rug. Now come on, mate. We don't have much time. I'll be as quick as I can. The boy rushed to the oil painting of Mr. Big hanging on the wall. He pulled it to one side to reveal the electronic keypad to the safe. Beep boop, beep boop, he said to himself, remembering the noise the buttons made when he'd seen it open. He pressed a few of the numbers as if they were piano keys, hoping to hear the right notes. Boop, beep. He needed to remember which number made which sound. Bloop, boop. Just as he felt he was getting closer, the door to the study creaked open. Chang, the elderly butler, entered, wearing only a pair of skimpy black underpants. He circled Dad and Frank, chanting something in Mandarin, with his arms outstretched, as if about to do kung fu. Chang took a few steps backwards to get a run-up and then jumped. The old man flew through the air with his arms and legs flung out. Frank ducked out of the way. Dad helpfully opened a window, and Chang flew right through it, landing on the patio outside with a bump. Frank and his father peered out the open window at the butler lying face down on the ground. He'd knocked himself out, said Dad. The skimpy black underpants had ridden up, and now Chang's wrinkly old bottom was pointing in their direction. He needs to buy himself some pyjamas, muttered Frank before going back to work on the safe. Beep boop, beep bloop. He cracked the code. The safe door whirred open. Yes! Exclaimed the boy. Father and son stared into the safe. For a moment, neither said a word. There was more money in that little box than they could ever dream of. There was far too much to count, but it was in the millions, if not tens of millions. What? Why don't we just take the lot? Asked Dad. We could run away, buy a big yacht, sail round the world forever. The thought was tempting. The money looked like the answer to everything. I don't know, Dad, replied the boy. If we took the lot, we'd be as bad as Big down there. Let's take what was robbed from the bank and not a penny more. The boy started counting the bundles and putting them in the bin liner they brought. Dad shook his head in disbelief and pleaded with his son. Can't we just take a tiny bit more for us? What kind of dad do you want to be? A good dad or a bad dad? The man pondered this for a moment. Is there something in the middle? No. Oh, a good dad then. I knew it, said the boy. You go ahead and check the coast is clear. Frank did as he was told and poked his head out of the broken window. Dad? What? Said the man. Come and see. Dad joined him at the window. Outside on the patio was a figure framed in the broken glass. It was Mum, and she was holding a gun. There we are. Thanks very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that episode of Bad Dad by David Walliams. It's starting to hot up. Okay, thank you very much. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time for part 19.